Hi, it's Ronnie, and welcome to Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches, round 6. And if you'd like to check out Instagram, because there's girls over there doing it too, hashtag 30DSBL6. And today's sketch is this one right here. It calls for 6 small pictures. Yeah, I had to find some small pictures to fit in that size. And I found some squares to cut out too. So I didn't have to do them on my own either. I just had to make sure the pictures fit on the inside. But see how little they are? Tiny, less than 2-inch square. Because that's about the size of my squares that I end up using. But it also has them like on a grid kind of sort of thing. It does not show them backed in anything. And I am going to back them. Well, I'm going to do a double layer of matting behind them. And see those alphas I have out there? I'm not going to use them. I don't know what I was thinking getting them out. I am not going to use them. Those die cuts that I have, they came, well, they were in the kit that this was set up as my How to Kill a Kit with Style 1 month. Well, maybe it might have been 2 months. It might have been. But they're not the ones I cut out and put in the dish earlier a couple weeks ago. But I'm showing everything. I'm not going to use the sequins either. I sat there and debated on that. I really was tempted to use them. I got them out to use, but I'm not going to use them. And the layout shows 3 pieces of paper on the right hand side. And one that I really wanted to use is a little short, so I am cutting it in the middle. And I picked the orange one out that has little tiny polka dots to go right behind my photos and little squares. And then I'm going to put a green cardstock behind that. Out of a whole sheet of squares, there was only 2 that I really wanted to use bad. So it's a good thing that it called for 2 on this grid here. One says Adventure Awaits, and then the other one shows this guy hiking, a silhouette of him. And I thought that's pretty good because we were doing a lot of walking that day. The paper I'm using is Simple Stories Happy Trails, and I got it off of Peachy Cheap daily thing. So I probably don't have like the whole kit. I probably only got like 5 sheets of paper or something, 6, because I think that's about all you usually get of the 12 by 12. But I mixed it with some other stuff that I had that went with it that seemed to go. But I do think that what I did use on this layout is all this, all of it. I think so. Yeah, except maybe that polka dot, maybe not. I know I had 2 and one had bigger polka dots, and I can't remember which one's which. Which one was this kit and which one was the other, or collection rather, not kit, collection. The paper I'm backing it with is a green, and it's a coronation, so it's got real nice texture, and if I was to sand it, it'll look good then too, and it'd have some color come out, whatever's on the top. I think it was a bright green. On the inspiration kit, it shows this grid thing lined up with the edge of the closest in paper, and I like mine to overlap, so I just decided I'd overlap mine instead of lining it up. I knew I'd have to do something since I had a gap there, but lining up would have worked, but overlapping makes me happier. This sort of kind of burlap stuff that's got like pieces missing out of it, if it is burlap, a friend of mine sent that to me several years ago, and I've been trying to spread it out and make it last. It's a burnt orange like that rusty hinge, so yeah, it is a color that I like. Well, I think I like a lot of colors. These pictures are of my grandsons when we went to Elephant Rocks, and they were really good, which they usually are, of letting me take pictures of them. And sometimes they'd holler, "Hey, Mama, take my picture." So, they were into it. But yeah, I talked to the oldest one today, and he asked me what I was doing when he called, and I said I was scrapbooking this layout with their pictures. He says, "I remember that day," because I was telling him which one it was because we went a couple of times. But he says, "I remember that day," and I said, "Yeah." I said, "And I can't find a single picture of me in there." He says, "Well, that's all your fault." And when he got a little older than this, he started making sure I was in the pictures. He'd stop whatever we were doing and make sure I got my picture in there. But he hadn't quite started it here yet. And of course, I had to use my tree ring. I use both of them on here, but by the time I get done with the layout, I'm only going to use the larger one. And a piece of ephemera that I decided to use, it says "Let's Get Lost," and I'm just going to tuck it behind the picture a little bit. And I did back it in some cardstock just because I like layering. Well, yeah, y'all know that I do like layering. So yeah, even if it takes a little bit longer to do it, I'm gonna layer it if I think it needs it. And you know what? Apparently I think it needs it a lot. In the inspiration piece, it shows tags where the tree rings are at. And I did lay out some twine to put on the tags, but since I didn't make any, I don't need it. And so it won't be used on this layout either. I did pull a lot of things I guess I wasn't going to use. Now I tucked in this little arrow that says check this out, but the green on there didn't go with the green that I was using in the layout. It was kind of a bright green. Now, if I took and sanded that coronation paper, it might have matched. But since it didn't, I did cut out another arrow so that I could replace the bottom part of this. I wanted to keep the top, and I am going to add some foam tape to it. It has some, but I thought it needed more because it looked kind of bumpy. But I've had it for years. One time on HSN, they had these 3D embellishments, of which that was one. And it's taken me a while to use them all because some of the colors I've never ran across something that will go with them. So I'm always glad when I get to use one because I liked every one. I just wanted them to go with my layout. And they do say that patience is a virtue. So, I've been pretty patient finally out that was going to use this one right here, but I did finally. I decided to use some of the wood veneer, and I actually put that green camera in here before I turned the video camera on because I thought, I know I want a camera on it. And I didn't realize there was a wood veneer one in there. But I am inking the wood veneers just because I want them to look like they're worn from being outside, and they don't show up quite as well when you do that, but looking at the layout you can see them really good. But it goes along with everything else, and the outdoors look outdoorsy. That is a word because I typed it one day and it is a word. It didn't have me to respell it or anything. The title that I'm going to use, I'm using it's a brush stroke die by Diamond Press, and I'm just going to do the one layer of them. I thought about doing a thicker layer and have them thicker, but if I'd used white, it wouldn't really went, even though that one paper over there is almost white. It's not quite, it's almost, and I inked the other things that were white, so they weren't quite so white. But I decided just do the one. I thought it'd work okay. Now, I had all those Tim Holtz die cuts, and it's called Greenery, and they are the Christmas ones. It does have holly and stuff in there, and I ordered them for Christmas cards. One year I ordered them like in the summer, and so it was months before I ever even used them. But I've got a lot of use out of them ever since because once I used them on the cards, I had to use them on my layouts. And if you ever had Tim Holtz dies, they're usually a little bit quirky. So they're not quite as precise as some others. And I like that. I only had 2 of the craft pieces in there. And I thought about getting the dies out and cutting some more. But I just used my punch and just punched a couple of them out instead. And used the craft cardstock. And see it laying there? I always have scraps. I always have scraps. Thank goodness. Now, once I started putting the greenery by the camera, I did have to pull the camera up and reset it because I wanted as much to show us as I could, but still cover just a tiny bit of the camera. And that little tab thing sitting there that I put by the backpack, it says Live, Love, Explore. And of course, the arrow says, check this out. And then the one at the top says, let's get lost. And of course, the bigger one says, adventure awaits. So yeah, they love climbing around on those rocks. And I did when I was younger. They are so huge. I mean, it's just amazing how big they are. So it makes for a good adventure because you can go in between them and on top of them, and a lot of climbing going on that day. I took a lot of pictures from down lower instead of climbing up higher. There was enough walking for me without having to climb up on stuff. However, when my kids was little, I went everywhere they went. I was over picky, I guess, with them. I made sure I was right there with them. And then these, I just told them stay in my sight. But be sure to look down there below. You'll see the link to Christy's channel. And then there's a few that's doing it every day all month long. So far I have, but I'm not going to say I'll do it all month long. I could fall down on the job at any time. But there will be links to them and anybody else that I know that's going to have a layout today. And then there's the Facebook group. And that's where you can go and post your layout. Unless you want to make a video, you can do that too. But you can go in there and post your layout so we all can see it and see what we all did with the same sketch. And as you see, I went pretty decently along the lines of the sketch. But the thing is, I always have to have more. So mine isn't quite as minimal as theirs is. I have the more on there. But I did love the sketch. So you can see that I did stick along a lot of the same lines. So yeah, a sketch is a inspiration and starting point, and sometimes you might lead yourself completely astray when you get started. And I was looking at my little greenery things and I thought, boy, they look good with some kind of berries on them. Well, I could have cut the berries out that's in the die cut thing. Yeah, there is, but they're on greenery, and so I'd had to cut them out with the die branch and all. Or I could have used my punch, but then I thought, I don't have any enamel dots on here yet. And instead of just putting a few in the clusters, I decided to use them as berries. So yeah, they're in my branches instead, like berries. So I used 3 different shades. I forgot to do the one that says back to nature, and I had to go back and put ones there. So I ended up using 3 different packs that had red in there. I think only one had them all there, and the other 2 had some missing maybe. But yeah, 3 packs. But I think it looked good when I got done. They look like berries in those trees. But if you leave a comment down there below, I'll get back with you. And if you like the video and hit a thumbs up, I'd appreciate it. And if you are not subscribed to my channel, I'd love to have you subscribe. And those of you already are, thank you so much. But go over on Facebook, check out the Facebook group, join. But have a happy, scrappy week. Take care and stay safe. And do this sketch as a layout. Bye.